Have you ever loved someone so deeply that you were willing to overlook things that didn't make sense? You ignored the red flags, you gave second chances. You believed that if you loved them enough, supported them enough, understood them enough, eventually they would love you back in the same way. But what if I told you many narcissists aren't actually looking for love at all? And that's one of the most painful realizations survivors have to face. Because the entire relationship was built on assumption that both people wanted the same thing: connection, intimacy, partnership, but often they don't. And today, I'm going to explain what many narcissists are really seeking, why this creates so much confusion, and how understanding this can help you finally stop blaming yourself for what happened. So stay with me, because this realization changed everything for me. So my friends, when you think about love, we usually think about mutual care. We think about two people seeing each other, supporting each other, growing together. Love requires empathy. It requires respect, accountability, vulnerability. Love means sometimes putting another person's needs alongside your own. But narcissism operates from a completely different framework. The narcissist isn't entering the relationship asking, how can we build something together? Instead, they're often unconsciously asking, what can this person do for me? Now, before anyone gets upset, not every narcissistic person behaves identically. There are patterns. And one of the biggest patterns is that relationships become transactional. People become resources, not partners, resources. The relationship exists because it basically serves a function. And once you understand this, so many confusing behaviors suddenly make sense. Think back to the beginning, my friends. Think back to the beginning. The love bombing, the intensity, the future promises, the feeling that you finally met someone who understood you completely. It felt magical, it felt desired. But ask yourself this question: how much did they actually know about you? How much were they actually reflecting back what they believed you wanted to hear? And many survivors later realize that the narcissist wasn't deeply connected to who they actually were. They were studying them. They were learning their vulnerabilities, their dreams, their wounds, their insecurities, their desires. Not necessarily to love them, but to gain influence over them, to become indispensable, to create attachment, to secure access. But what they wanted wasn't intimacy. What they wanted was something else. Validation, attention, control, power, admiration, emotional supply. And you see, this is what many experts refer to as narcissistic supply. The emotional fuel that maintains the narcissist's fragile sense of self. Without it, many narcissists feel empty. They feel worthless, invisible. So deep beneath the grandiosity often sits profound insecurity. But instead of developing genuine self-worth, they seek constant external confirmation. You matter, you're special, you're important, you're attractive, you're right, you're this, you're that. So the problem is, no amount of external validation is ever going to be enough for this person. They are always going to want more. They are always going to be seeking more. So you can't satisfy this need. It's like trying to fill a bucket with a hole in the bottom. So the reassurance disappears and they need more and more and more. Oh my God, this is giving me a headache. Like, they need more. Okay, and this is why so many of you feel exhausted because you can't make this up. You can't make this any better, because people like me and you, we've spent years trying to pour love into someone who could never seem satisfied. No matter how much you gave, it wasn't enough. No matter how much you sacrificed, they wanted more. And no matter how much you proved your loyalty, they still questioned you. Because the issue was never your ability to love. The issue was their inability to receive healthy love in a healthy way. And that's a really important distinction. And I talk about this a lot, my friends. This is the attachment disorder. And this is one that so many survivors miss. You aren't failing. You're trying to solve a problem that wasn't yours to solve. So one of the biggest misconceptions is that narcissists want love. They want the same thing that you do. But many don't. They want to feel what it feels like. Many do want what they believe love should feel like, but they often struggle with that bit, the vulnerability that love requires, because genuine intimacy means being seen, imperfections and all. It means accountability. It means allowing another person to influence you because you trust them, and they don't want to do that. And for someone whose entire identity is built around protecting a fragile self-image, that can feel terrifying. Control feels safer. Power feels safer. Admiration feels safer. Love feels, distance feels safer, because love requires risk. Supply does not. And this is why so many narcissists seem most interested when you're pulling away. This is where you've got to notice the pattern. Okay, when you're available, they lose interest. When you're exhausted, they criticize. When you're loyal, they take you for granted. But when you finally leave, suddenly they are back. And they're texting, they're calling, they're promising, they're begging, they're making declarations of love. Well, because they miss the control. Not necessarily connection, but control. And there's a huge distinction between the two of you, between the two of those things. The withdrawal of supply creates panic. The loss of influence creates panic. The loss of attention creates panic. And many of you mistake that panic for love. They're not always the same thing. And so one of the hardest truths to accept is this. Someone can be obsessed with you and still not love you. Let me say that again. Someone can be obsessed with you and still not love you. Because obsession is about possession. Love is about appreciation. Obsession says, you're mine. Love says, you're free. Obsession wants ownership. Love wants well-being. Obsession asks what it can take. Love asks what it can give. And when you begin understanding this difference, the relationship starts making a lot of sense. And many survivors spent years asking, did they ever love me? And whilst every situation is different, I get that. And I think a more helpful question in this situation would be, did they love me in a way that was healthy and sustainable? Because sometimes people do care. Sometimes they do feel attachment. And sometimes they do experience emotion. But if the relationship consistently involves manipulation, control, emotional abuse, gaslighting, triangulation, and exploitation, the label matters less than the outcome. And the outcome is suffering. The outcome is confusion. The outcome is emotional exhaustion. And that's what needs attention. Healing begins when you stop trying to earn love from people who require you to abandon yourself. Think about how much of yourself you gave away. The boundaries you ignored. The intuition you silenced. The needs that you minimized. And your dreams that you postponed. You kept hoping that one more sacrifice would bring them to you, and that they would finally choose you, or they would value you, or they would respect you, and they would love you. But healthy love doesn't require self-abandonment, does it, my friends? It really doesn't. Healthy love doesn't ask you to disappear. Healthy love doesn't demand that you become smaller to please somebody else. And here's the beautiful part. The moment that you stop chasing validation from someone incapable of giving it consistently, you begin reclaiming your power. You stop measuring your worth through their approval. You stop interrupting their behavior. And that's when freedom begins. Not when you finally understand, but when you understand. So if you're watching this today and you're grieving the relationship, I want you to hear this. The love you gave was real. The care you offered was real. The effort you invested was real. The loyalty was real. The compassion was real. Don't let somebody else's inability to love ruin that whole kind of concept of love, or that your love wasn't valuable, because it was. And one day that love can be directed toward people who know how to nurture it instead of exploit it, including yourself, especially yourself. Because healing isn't about getting the narcissist to finally love you. Healing is learning to love yourself enough that you no longer need their approval. And that, my friends, changes everything. And if this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. What was the biggest realization you had after leaving a narcissistic relationship? And if you're currently rebuilding after narcissistic abuse, check out my resources below, because you deserve relationships built on respect, honesty, and genuine connection, not control, not manipulation, and certainly not emotional supply disguised as love. Take care of yourselves, my friends, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.